I used to be Frederick. That was the name printed on my birth certificate. Somewhere along the line, I decided I wanted to be called Fred. People knew Fred. Someone who would help his mother put tablecloths on the tables. Someone who would always help his mom and follow her around and just be her little helper. Fred wasn't inadequate. Fred wasn't Frederick. And Fred was unsure of many things. He felt self-confidence issues. He didn't feel like he was worth much. He always heard, "What's wrong with you? Why should he be this way?" What planet did he come from? Nobody really knew. I sure didn't. I just knew I was here. And that inadequacy sort of began to hide itself. I began to read the encyclopedia. I wanted to put it on the facade. Fred would help his mom. Frederick, on the other hand, would go downstairs and lay out elaborate train sets or build Lego sets for hours. And he went to school, still hiding. Then sometime along the way, Fred began to see that he could make an effort. He could actually amount to something. Fred was more than just his mom's little helper. Fred was more than just something somebody else told him he was. And what was hard about that was that he actually had to take responsibility for how he felt about himself. He was used to making other people feel good. He wanted other people to be helped, to be happy. And this became a constant tug of war. The battle was real. Who should Fred be, Fred or Frederick? It wasn't that he was a split personality. It was that he wanted to help others. He wanted people to be happy with who he was. But he wanted to be happy with who he was. Eventually, Fred moved to Rochester and stepped out on a limb and gave life a shot. He began climbing mountains with his uncle. The mountains were hard, and each step he saw the summit, but he also saw that his legs were shaking, that he felt nervous, that he felt inadequate again. Would he ever overcome this? Would this ever be something that could change? Someone like you was loyal to him. Another person like you helped him laugh at himself. He could laugh at others and make jokes, but he knew they wouldn't be funny because he knew he was inadequate. Then there were people to say hi to, strangers, friendly faces who smiled and said hi, and walked alongside him for a little while. He journeyed. He read books. He listened. He saw that he still wanted to help people, but this time it was because he started to feel good about himself. He started to find some sort of identity. Oscar Wilde told him once, and I quote, "Be yourself, because everybody else has already been taken." But this was hard. It was really hard. Because as Fred became himself, he saw that more things about himself were like other people. And he figured if other people were the same as Fred, how could Fred be himself? Maybe he was thinking too much. But maybe he was also just Fred. And it was hard to overcome this, but he saw the summit. It was still there. The summit of hope and the summit of a dream. And he heard chances that he didn't just have to live up to the family name that was Fred or Frederick. He knew other family members named Fred. They inspired him. He was told that he would have to step into their footsteps and fill their shoes. He had big shoes to fill. They were amazing people. They cared. They inspired Rochester. And Fred wasn't from Rochester. But anyways, Fred began to realize that there were still people who didn't know who his uncle and who his grandfather were. There were still people who could show him that he could learn to be himself and that he could teach himself through taking a step out onto a limb and climbing to the next branch, to the next branch, to achieve that journey. And being told that his life still mattered. Not because of what he did with others, but because of what he saw in himself that he also saw in others. Thank you.